okay, and you're in the stream. Today, why does Ethiopia's largest ethnic group consider themselves to be one of the most persecuted by their government? We'll look at the challenges faced by the Oromo people. Our digital producer Malika Bilal is here looking out for your live feedback. Malika, right at the beginning of June, we had an open editorial meeting. We were asking our online community for story ideas about Africa. And this is why we're sitting here today with this show.
We've come full circle, and I love when that happens. So journalist Mohamed Ademo was one of the people in that open editorial meeting, and he had this pitch.
The story that the stream should be doing is a story about Oromo identity, diaspora, and also marginalization in Ethiopia, and then the challenge that Oromo immigrants and Oromo refugees are facing. I think people are dying to be heard.
He says people are dying to be heard, and if you want to be heard, we want to hear you. So use the hashtag AJStream.
Joining us in the studio, sitting between Malika and myself, we have Jawar Mohamed. And Jawar is an Oromo rights advocate who was raised in Ethiopia's Oromia region. Jawar, it's great to have you in the stream.
Thank you for having me.
We will be hearing from you in just a little moment. So, the Oromo people make up about 40% of Ethiopia's population. But, according to human rights advocates, they lack equal political rights, face a widespread discrimination, and have long felt targeted by their Ethiopian government. So as a result, over many years, millions of Oromos have fled their homeland to become refugees in other nations. So how did all of this happen to a group of people who make up almost half the country? To help us answer this is Fido Eba, the Foreign Affairs representative of the Oromo Liberation Front. He joins us from Minnesota in the United States. And in New York, we have Mohamed Ademo. He is a journalist and editor of the Oromo news website, O Pride. Fido and Mohamed, it's great to have you in the stream. And before we start, I have to say that the Ethiopian government turned down our invitation to join in this conversation. This is an email that we received from their spokesperson, Shimalis Kamal, who writes, "No government representative is authorized to share a forum with the Oromo Liberation Front leadership or involve in any media debate, as the OLF is officially prescribed as a terrorist organization." So that is why they're not part of this discussion, but I will be bringing in some of their viewpoints. Jawar, let me start with you. It's really hard for outsiders to understand that if an ethnic group makes up 40% of the population of a country, why they feel persecuted. Why is that?
I think the persecution and the discrimination goes back to how they were incorporated to the present day Ethiopia. About 100 years ago, they were conquered by the Ethiopian, the Abyssinian state that were able to get a modern weapon earlier. From that on, their size became a curse. Their size and the wealth, they contribute about 60% of the GDP. They're about 40% of the population. So any move to incorporate them to the state requires a significant redistribution of wealth. Because of that, and because Ethiopia has been ruled by dictators, any dictator who wants to incorporate the Oromo faces redistributing wealth and power. Because of this, they continue to repress them in order to ensure that they never get the fair share and force the dictators out of power.
Okay,
So you saw Jawar Mohamed caught in a lie, because from the US government, this is a CIA file showing that the Gala, which is the Oromo, they're represented as Gala here on this document, CIA file. It's 1949, 18 May, I believe, 1949. That's middle of the century, previous century. And you can see in this document that the Galas, which is the Oromos, they used to be Gala, that was their name. They said Gala was given to them by the Ethiopian government. And it says that they were attacking, recent bandit attacks on trucks and convoy in this area. By who? By the Galas. Okay? And the Ethiopian army was disarming them because they were attacking. These were actually terrorists. So this is as far back as April 25th, 1949. And yet he says that we colonized them, right? What he didn't tell you is that they invaded Ethiopia in the 16th century. We didn't conquer them. They came and took our land. That was not reported in this show. Okay. Okay. Following up, Owen Williams, Fitzwilliams' narrative of the voyage to explore the shores of Africa, Arabia, and Madagascar. This was written in 1833, and he says that the Galas are said to have no houses, but wander around through the woods in the wildest state of barbarism. Okay, they were savages. They used to cut men penises and wear it as a necklace. This was their way of living. When they entered Ethiopia, and they literally took lands by force, that means they were our enemy. They were the enemy of Ethiopia. We didn't go and conquer the Oromos, which by then they were called Galas, so therefore we cannot say that what Jawar Mohamed was saying is completely wrong. We Ethiopians were being invaded. If someone invades the United States, that's an act of war. To further prove my evidence, well, to further underline the evidences that I will present. First, linguistically, Oromo, the word Oromo, comes from Orma, and Orma means foreigner. And if you think this was just an opinion, keep watching. Go to oromodictionaries.com and you find this out.
Ladies and gents, we are on Oromo Dictionary. When you put foreigner, you get Oromo, and you get Orma. See, and Orma means foreigner. Let's put it the other way. Let's put it in Oromia. Oroma, and we put it into the English. And guess what? It says alien, beef, bull, immigrant.
Which leads us to Johann Kraft, or Johann Kraft, a German pastor who traveled to Ethiopia in the 19th century. He died in 1881 or 82. And basically, he wanted to promote colonialism in Africa. Germans wanted a piece of the land, and they saw that the Galas, or the Oromos, were then called Galas, which, so he wanted to use them, turn them into a Protestant Christianity, and then conquer the rest of Africa through them, through the Galas, because they are also in Kenya and other parts of other countries. So he wrote this book, which is a dictionary of the Galas. It says Gala language, okay, 1842. Okay. So you can see this was produced by for the Church Missionary Society, printed in London. So for, when you look, we'll see, you could Google it and actually find this. So this is not something I invented, but when you look at Jawar's comment, it contradicts exactly what you're going to see in this video, because this video is actually a historical document, whereas Jawar Mohamed gave just an opinion, and this was a false information. Here you will see what he wrote about the Galas, which is the Oromos. This is the dictionary. So he actually documented how their languages. Of course, they don't have a script of their own, unlike Ethiopians. Ethiopians have their own script, but the Galas, they don't. The different script that you see here, other than the European, is Amharic or the Ge'ez Ethiopic script. Because they don't have a script of their own. To this day, they have never written anything. They don't have a written history. So that's why we refer to the Europeans and Ethiopians, Arab historical proofs, evidence. Okay. As you can see, this was documented by a German Protestant reverend, and then this is his book. And basically, he wanted to learn their language, and then allied himself to them to conquer Abyssinia or Ethiopia, and then colonize part of Africa for Germany. And this, you will see okay. And this other book that he's written, The Travels, Research, and Missionary Labor by John Kraft again. And you can see in chapter 6, which you will open up pretty soon. I hope so. Technical difficulties here. Yeah, okay, it's opening. It's loading. Okay, you can see here that the Galas have taken possession of large section of hold on. Let's go back. Okay, see, you can see coming from the south with their innumerable horsemen, the Gala seized on some of the finest portion of Abyssinia. So they came from outside, and he recorded that in his book. And this may be part of more general one in the center of Africa, which drove the tribe of the interior towards the coast, the Galas migrating towards the north and the east. And it would seem to have been providential ordained by this migration of the Galas, which is the Oromo. Jawar Mohamed belongs to this, to oppose a barrier to the onward rush of the Muslims from Arabia. And so at one and the same time, to punish the abominable heresies of Christian Abyssinia. So he sees the Orthodox Ethiopian Orthodox Church as heretic. And then he goes on and say that God has given the Galas to the Germans so that they could actually conquer Ethiopia. So here you go. He did not deny that they came in the 16th century. You can see in page 72, he admits that they came to Ethiopia in the 16th century. See, when in the 16th century, Muhammad Grain overtook and destroyed the land of Abyssinia, right? So they came and even killed our king, and they came from the south. Yet Jawar Mohamed says that we conquered them, and we had better weapons earlier than they had. But he didn't tell you that they actually came from another place and they invaded Ethiopia. So Ethiopians had to defend their country. They have the right to. And in fact, we have the right to kick them out. And then if you read further, it says the name Gala in their own language means immigrant, and has been given by the Arabs and the Abyssinians, but which is not true, because we will see later on that. And then it says they call themselves Orma, and Orma, which we saw the definition, also means immigrant from the dictionary earlier. Orma, strong and brave, but he gave it a different definition. And their language in their language, Afan Oromo, the mouth of the Orma. So the Gala have no general name to indicate their nationality. I lost the line there. Oh, nationality, or so it's he says, I propose to include both under the designation of Ormania. So he wanted to give them a name and a land and an identity. And then it says, I have heard several different stories or account given to the origin of the Galas, or as I would call them, Orma, but whatever it may be, it is certain that their first appearance in Abyssinia, they were very wild and warlike people. So he admits a lot of the things.